night, depending on when you're showing up here. So today we're reading A Mango-Shaped Space by Wendy Mass. I believe we're on chapter 2. So far it's been about a girl who seems to have a very interesting relationship to things in her life and also her relationship to colors. It seems very interesting so far. It's a young girl named Mia, and yeah, I hope you all are enjoying it as much as I am. But I think we should dive right back in. No need to talk or anything. I say we get to it. Chapter 2. I stand back to admire my work. Against a background of blue-gray sky, my grandfather seems to gaze right at me. His round face has the look of someone waiting for something that has been a long time coming. But something is still missing. Staring at the painting, I finally realize what it is. I wash off my brush and prepare the gray and white pants. Brush stroke by brush stroke, Mango appears, perched on Grandpa's right shoulder. So sorry, I'm just going to stop right there. I forgot to mention it yesterday, but Mia has a cat named Mango. This book is called A Mango-Shaped Space. It's kind of a picture of a cat, so I think the cat might be a little bit important throughout the story. I just wanted to mention that real quick before we dive too deep. Mango appears, perched on Grandpa's right shoulder. I can only fit a kitten-sized Mango on the small space. I stand back and study it, pleased with the result. After a whole year, the painting is now finished. Mango fits on Grandpa's shoulder like the last piece of a puzzle. It makes perfect sense, considering where I first found Mango. I can hear Mango wheeze from across the room as I pick up my watercolors. He was wheezing that first day too, the little yellow-orange puffs of air wafting around him. It was the day of Grandpa's funeral. The whole family was standing around the grave, crying and holding hands, offering Grandpa up to heaven. Living in the country, we're used to offering small animals up to heaven. But then it's usually only Zach who's crying over the skunk or possum. This was totally different. The local minister, who had only met once before, was in the middle of his closing prayer when I glanced over and saw a tiny kitten. He was sitting about 3 feet away from the grave, and he had Grandpa's eyes, round and kind and all-knowing. I loved him immediately. It took 2 weeks of relentless begging before my parents agreed to lift their no animals in the house rule. Everyone thinks I named him Mango because of his orange eyes, but that's not the case. I named him Mango because the sound of his purrs and his wheezes and his meows were all various shades of yellow-orange, like a mango in different seasons. We had to bring him to the vet right away because of the wheeze. Mango threw up twice during the 20-minute ride, and my mother was not happy. The vet told us that Mango was born with a deep rip in the lining of one lung, and it couldn't be fixed. She said that if he lived another month, his body would probably compensate for it, and he'd be okay. That was a year ago. Mango still has the wheeze, but I still have Mango. I should probably go downstairs and say hello to Beth. But I really don't want to go up to the cemetery to give Grandpa his present before dinner. I gently lift the painting off the easel and almost drop it when my father knocks on the door. I steady the painting and unlock the door. "We're going to take Beth to the drugstore," he said, wiping his dirt-covered hands on his faded jeans. "You want to come?" "I have to clean all this up," I tell him, gesturing over my shoulder toward the easel and paints. For some reason, I don't want to tell him that the picture is a gift for Grandpa. He hasn't mentioned what today is, and I don't want to remind him. "Can I see it?" He walks in and studies the painting intently. "That's really something." He sounds genuine, but it's hard to tell with parents. "You have a great sense of color." "If only he knew the half of it." "Thanks," I reply. "They say the eyes are the windows to the soul, you know. I can see Grandpa in those eyes." My father knows important things, even if he isn't book smart, like my mother, who was a high school science teacher until Zach was born. "It's interesting how you did this," he says, peering more closely at the painting. "You'd made Mango's and Grandpa's eyes the same shape." I smiled to myself, pleased that he noticed. Just then, Beth yells from upstairs, and my father pats me on the head as if I'm a child and turns to go. "It's gonna rain," I warn him as he heads down the long hall, Mango at his heels. He laughs and says there isn't a cloud in the sky. But but I hear him tell Beth to take an umbrella. As soon as the front door slams shut, I grab the canvas, put on my sneaker, and run out the back. Grandpa is buried in the small cemetery on the hill, about half a mile past our house, snuggled right up next to Graham's, who died when I was 3. They're my dad's parents, but my mother was very close to them. Her own parents are still alive in Florida, but we don't see them because they won't fly. I think there's more to the story, something to do with marrying beneath one's station, and the dearth of culture in farm country. Whatever that means, Mom never talks about it. Jenna's mother is buried in the same cemetery, and I intend to stop by and pay my respects. I'm halfway to the cemetery when the still partially wet portrait held carefully away from my body when I notice Mango is following me. I wait for him to catch up, but he keeps getting distracted. There are a lot of things out there to catch a cat's attention. The fields back up to acres of overgrown land, complete with a thriving ecosystem of creepy crawling things, various small animals, and, according to tales Grandpa used to tell, the souls of the dead who once farmed this land. Once, Grandpa led Zach and me through the woods until we came across a huge piece of green foam that was half buried in the thick brush. Zach, who was only 6 at the time, announced that it was the piece of the moon that had fallen to Earth. Grandpa said surely that was what it was, and he ripped off a chunk of it. He knew the foam was the inside of some rotting old couch cushion, but I played along. Grandpa made a little speech over that piece of cushion, holding it in front of him as if it were some priceless jewel. As your guide on this trail, he said, his voice deep and reverent, it is my honor to hereby bestow upon you a little piece of the moon. He tore the chunk in half and handed each of us a piece about the size of an egg. It was squishy and moist, and the green color rubbed up my fingers. I put it in a little box and hid it safely in the back of my desk drawer. I have no idea what Zach did with his. I know Grandpa's soul isn't wandering the woods like the ghosts I sometimes think I glimpse between the trees. Part of his soul is right next to me, stored safe and sound inside Mango. I know this as soon as I saw the little kitten sitting by Grandpa's grave that day, looking up at me with Grandpa's eyes. I firmly believe that people's souls can splinter off when they die. Part of Grandpa's inside of Mango, part is inside heaven, dancing with Grams, who is a really good dancer, and only Grandpa himself knows where the rest of him is. This is just my own personal theory. As we rise over the last ridge, I can see Grandpa's grave clearly because the grass covering it is shorter than the rest. The headstones are glowing with the last of the sun, and I see a glint of something shiny resting on Grandpa's. When I reach it, I discover it's a bottle of my grandfather's favorite brand of beer. Dad must have left it there along with the flowers on Graham's headstone. I know he misses them a lot, even though he always says, when it's your time to go, it's your time to go. God's will and all that. We're not all very religious family, but where death is concerned, it pays to be open-minded. I try not to think about death too much. I'm not good with ending. They make me too sad. Hi, Grandpa, I whisper, laying the painting down on the grave. I brought you a present. Mango immediately walks over and sifts the edge of the painting. Then he saunters right across it before I can grab him. Now I have to clean the paint off his paws, not to mention paint over the paw prints. The air is heavy around us, and blackish purple clouds roll in faster than I had expected. When I was little, I used to run around in the rain and let the water run all over me. Then one day I saw lightning split a tree nearby in half. That pretty much took the joy out of prancing around in thunderstorms. Mango's tail is sinking low, a sure sign that the storm is almost upon us. I quickly fan out the flowers on Graham's grave and tell Grandpa I miss him and that I hope he likes the painting. I'm about to kneel down to pick it up when the first drops of rain come out of nowhere and splatter right on it. Mango takes off for shelter in the trees, and I freeze while the wind whips around me. The thunder fills the air with streaks of charcoal black spirals, and for a second I think they're trying to pound me into the ground. I turn on my heel and run, leaving the painting with Grandpa. Wild Child is on the move. At the edge of the woods, I call out for Mango. The woods are awfully dark now, and the rain is really coming down, and it's still thundering. What if lightning strikes a tree and it falls on him in the woods? Can he hear me calling him? I don't know what to do. One more clap of thunder makes my mind makes my mind up for me, and I start running towards the house. When I get back to the house, 3 things hit me at once. I realize I'm so clear through the bone, and am now without both my cat and my painting. Why did I take my own advice and bring an umbrella? I try to make it upstairs before anyone sees me, but luck is not on my side tonight. What happened to you? Beth says, as she follows Dad through the front door and folds up her umbrella. You look terrible. Good to see you too, I say, shivering. She leans in and gives me a hug, a real one, with affection and everything. She's not wearing any makeup and her hair is tied back in a ponytail instead of being hairsprayed out to there. I don't think I've seen her without lipstick on since she was 12. No makeup, no hairspray, no new piercings, and on top of it, a hug? It is very mysterious and too un-Beth-like. Something's up. Want to see what I brought back from California? She asks, heading upstairs. She actually invited me up to her room. I look at my father for some sign that he recognizes this odd behavior. He's beaming, and I think those might be tears in his eyes. Dad has always been our more sensitive parent. He cries his way through the Olympics and Hallmark commercials. Zach takes after him. He's the only one of us who will offer a dead beetle up to heaven. The rest of us figure bugs have got their own deal worked out. I follow Beth upstairs and step tentatively into her room, afraid the real Beth will show up at any minute and yell at me for trespassing. She rummages through one of her suitcases, pulls out a big plastic bag, and dumps the content onto the bed. I move closer, and my eyes widen. Multicolored candles of all sizes surround bags of tiny flowers, ground herbs, a ceramic goblet, and a tin bowl. Are you a good witch or a bad witch? I say, fingering the smooth goblet. Very funny, she says, snatching the goblet from my hand. I simply learned to get in touch with the power of nature this summer. Zach's going to help me move my bed around later. Move your bed? Why? So my head will face north. It is something to do with the magnetic pull of the North Pole bringing your power when you sleep. She says it as if it makes sense. I'm sure Zach will help you with your move affairs. Well, I'm sure Zach will help you move yours after. But you've always said Zach's superstitions are ridiculous. I reminded her as I moved away from the bed, away from the strange objects, away from the stranger who calls herself my sister. I used to say that, she admits, and begins placing the candles around her room. But now I know there's some truth in them. What truth can be found in crossing your fingers until you see a dog? I muttered, inching towards the door. Wait a second. I'm going to dye my hair tonight. So can you stay out of the bathroom? Apparently, Beth hasn't changed that much after all. What color this time? I asked. If you must know, she says, taking her ponytail holder so her hair falls perfectly down her back. It's going to be red. I found out that redheads are closest to nature. You might want to consider... Oh no, I cut her off. I'm close enough to nature as it is. The bathroom's all yours. I consider informing her that there's hardly any red in nature and that maybe she should try green. But I figure, why start something? You're dripping on my carpet, she says. I quickly step out of the room and she shuts the door behind me. Hey! Beth reappears in the hallway 2 seconds later. This time, she's waving her diary in the air. Did you read this while I was gone? The old Beth was definitely back. I suddenly wish I had read it. I assure her I did not, and run down the hallway to my room before she can interrogate me further. I quickly throw off my wet clothes, put on some sweats, and creep down the stairs. The darkest clouds have passed, and only a light drizzle falls now. Just in case, I grab an umbrella and figure the back door is my best chance of escaping unseen. But as I round the corner to the kitchen, I run right into my mother. There are just too many people in this house. It's getting dark, Mia, she says in that special tone that only mothers can achieve. Where are you going? I hesitate. To the cemetery? You can go tomorrow, she says, taking a bowl of salad out of the refrigerator and handing it to me. Grandpa isn't going anywhere. I tried to argue, but quickly let the mother glare, then go along with the mother tone. The glare and the tone together are unbeatable. I sigh and give up, grimly aware that the painting is probably completely ruined by now. I rest the salad bowl on the counter and turn to leave before I'm asked to set the table. The unmistakable sound of claws against a metal screen door stops me. I open the kitchen door, and Mango strolls in. He is barely wet. Staying dry in the pouring rain is one of those cat tricks I'll never figure out. Instead of apologizing for running off, he heads straight for his food dish and waits for me to fill it. "Please set the table when you're done, Mia," Mom says, stealing a glance my way. I know she's watching to make sure I don't spill any cat food, even though I'm a pretty neat person. I've never been as neat as my mother. She even uses a fork and knife to eat pizza. It's embarrassing. She and her dad are complete opposites that way. I wouldn't exactly call him a slob, but sometimes he trails the outdoors inside with him, and Mom has to follow behind him with a mop. If the storm passes, I hope to get a little telescope time, she adds, searching in the back of the cabinet for something. "Do you want to look at Cassiopeia with me? One of the stars in the system is going to be a supernova. When it explodes, it will be 20 times brighter than usual." Maybe. I have trouble getting excited about a star going supernova. It's an astronomer's way of saying dying. Talking about sad on a grand scale. But I don't know. Mom misses being around all her science buddies, and she likes having company in the yard. "It looks like I have to go to the store to get some spaghetti." Mom slams the cabinet door in exasperation, causing a large brown ring to appear, which reminds me of Beth's old hula hoop. When she was 6, she won $25 in a contest by hula hooping longer than any other kid in town. Beth likes winning things. "Why don't we just have hamburgers?" I suggest. The circle fades away. "We have some in the freezer." "It's Beth's first night home," Mom tells me, grabbing her keys from the hook on the door, "and she won't eat hamburgers." "Huh? Since when?" I asked, following her down the hall. "Since now, apparently," Mom said, her voice strained. She says she will no longer eat anything with a face, or anything that once had a face. I had never thought of meat that way, and I didn't want to start now. I asked my mother to take me with her, figuring I can convince her to stop at the cemetery on the way home. As we drive to the supermarket, she reminds me that I still need to get my notebooks and some new clothes for school. "I still have a week," I point out. "I'm not a good shopper. I'd rather be outdoors than cooped up in a mall any day." Don't wait till the last minute as usual," she warns. "You've already outgrown a lot of your fall clothes from 7th grade. When school starts, you'll be too busy to get anything." I'm utterly dreading 8th grade. It means having to learn a foreign language, not to mention pre-algebra, a class I'm destined to fail. No matter how hard I try, I can never keep up in math class, and trying to learn Spanish will be even worse. The problem is clear to me. It has to do with my colors. The word friend is turquoise with a glow of glossy red, and the word amigo is yellow with spots of brown like an old banana. I just can't get my brain to connect the two words. As we stand in line to pay for the spaghetti, I finally agree to go shopping for school stuff the next day. Satisfied, my mother turns and strikes up a conversation with the woman behind us. Her son shyly peers out from behind her mother's skirt. He reminds me of Zach at about 5 years old. "Hi," I say softly, leaning down to him. "What's your name?" "Billy Henkel," he answers in a shy whisper. "What's yours?" "Mia Winchell," I tell him. He giggles and comes out from behind his mom a little more. "Mia's a pretty name." "Thanks," I say, flashing him a Winchell smile. My family may not be blessed with height, but we have good teeth and try to show them what we can. "It's purple with orange stripes," he announces, his voice more assured now. "I like it a lot." Still smiling, I shake my head and say, "No, silly, it's candy apple red with a hint of light green." What he said hits me. My smile slowly disappears, and my heart starts to pound. "Wait, what did you say?" I ask him. Before he can answer, his mother turns around and rolls her eyes. "Don't pay any attention," she tells me. "He has an overactive imagination." Billy steps back behind her skirt and peeks his head around. "Mia is purple and orange," he whispers, "not red and green." I'm too stunned to speak. I'm too stunned to move. My pulse is beating in my ears.
Did you change it around?
Hold on, I'm almost done with this chapter. I'm reading aloud.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm too stunned to speak. I'm too stunned to move. My pulse is beating in my ears. My mother has paid for the food and is already heading towards the exit. I force myself to follow her, but can't resist turning around before the door shuts behind me. I hear Billy's mother scolding him for making up stories. The laughter of my classmates pops into my head. Freak. They made me question the first 8 years of my life, and now this little boy is making me question the last 5? If he isn't lying, if he really sees my name that way, then everything I thought I knew about myself is wrong. All right. That is the end of chapter 2. So that was an interesting chapter. I think there's a lot of stuff in terms of symbolism, foreshadowing. There was, I think Mango symbolizes a lot of stuff, but he's also a theme throughout the book. There's something that has to do with death and rebirth that I think is kind of a reoccurring thing throughout the book. And then obviously what stands out the most to me for this chapter is she met somebody else who experiences the same thing as her. He's a young, 5-year-old boy, but he experiences it differently, which I think is hitting her pretty hard. She's realizing that this isn't just her. She's not alone. She thinks this is some issue that she's going through, but it's actually something that other people might experience too, which is really changing things for her. And I don't think this is the end of Billy. I think she's going to be very existential about this later, and stay tuned. All right, I will see you guys later. Bye! Be sure to subscribe so you can see the next video coming out, and it'll be fun.